This episode of On the Record is brought to you by Associated Equipment Distributors.
Hi everyone, Mike Lessiter here with our Farm Equipment Magazine team down in location in Fort Myers, Florida for the Farm Equipment Manufacturers Association Convention. Welcome to On the Record.
Here's Kim Schmidt with the latest news impacting the ag equipment industry.
Thanks, guys. The tariff situation directly hits everyone at the FEMA Supply Summit. Even the few that are doing all U.S. business with all U.S. components will soon feel the impact of the steel tariffs. Most OEMs in attendance are sourcing key components or materials throughout the globe. AEI asked one Canadian farm equipment manufacturer who does business on both sides of the border what life has been like in recent weeks following the Canadian tariff situation. The shortline manufacturer describes the tariff situation as having 49 of the 54 stickers on a Rubik's Cube reshuffled each and every night and having to consider new what-if paths the following morning. Other manufacturers advised their peers to practice high diligence at all steps of what might have been considered normal cost of business, including line item reviews from freight forwarders. Several longtime ag equipment executives advised over-communication with suppliers, customers, and distributors as lack of information, even if it ends up being only temporary, can lead to paralysis. This may be of particular note with dealers who work with short lines and can be confused by multiple approaches taken by multiple suppliers. Kubota is getting out ahead of communicating to its dealers. Our editors learned that the OEM communicated with its dealers on April 9th that it wouldn't be doing anything until May 1st. For more ongoing coverage of the tariff situation, visit farm-equipment.com/tariffs2025. This week's dealers on the move include Carter Agri-Systems, Delta Ag Equipment, and NNS Tractor. AGCO dealer Carter Agri-Systems expanded into multiple locations in Utah as it combined operations with Overson's Farm Center in January. In addition to its locations in Lund and Winnemucca, Nevada, Carter Agri-Systems now manages the Utah dealership's locations in Cedar City, Delta, and Richfield, all of which will operate under the Carter Agri-Systems name. Delta Ag Equipment announced the March 31st grand opening of Mississippi's first full-line Fendt and Massey Ferguson dealership in Cleveland. Case IH dealership NNS Tractor announced its acquisition of the Sonra Machinery Case CE contract from the Stockton, Sacramento, and Redding stores in California, as well as the Portland and Salem stores in Oregon and the Spark store in Nevada. Now here's Noah Newman with the latest from the Technology Corner.
Thank you very much, Kim. Today we're talking technology with Vanderloop Equipment co-owner Rob Vanderloop. Now the Wisconsin AGCO dealership has really been ahead of the curve when it comes to expanding its precision portfolio. And Rob Vanderloop says that AI is now another potential game changer, not just for farmers, but for dealers as well. It could really help out technicians.
You know, our technicians today, they have to be really good to be able to do some of this diagnostic on some of these, CAN systems and, the oddball stuff. And when they go to service training, they can, they bug a machine and they have them figure out where they bugged the machine. Well, that's good, but it's not the real world. In the real world, when you have a bug, it's or a hard to repeat with a hard to repeat issue where it's not consistent. It might happen once every hour. It might happen once every 2 days. Yeah. The diagnostic for that is very challenging. So I think AI will be between, and AI and autonomous are going to kind of be one and the same too, because this stuff will be self-learning. It'll be able to see when it's got a problem. It'll detect problems and report back if it's, it has a hydraulic failure or a mechanical failure of some kind. It'll detect that and be able to know enough to stop.
Interesting stuff there. To catch our full sit-down interview with Rob Vanderloop, head to the Farm Equipment YouTube page. In the Technology Corner, I'm Noah Newman. Back to you, Kim.
Thanks, Noah. As of April 9th, corn prices were $5.74, up $1.10 from our last episode 2 weeks ago. Soybeans closed at $10.12, up 5 cents, and wheat closed at $5.42, down 6 cents. Representatives from over 30 dealers and members of the North American Equipment Dealers Association ascended on Capitol Hill this week for NAIDA's legislative fly-in. The group met with around 25 legislators to discuss the need for the Farm Bill to be updated, tariffs, the death tax, Section 179 taxes, Section 199A taxes, and right to repair. The coalition met with legislators to deliver a unified message on the key priorities for the association, who it represents, and the importance these issues have on rural communities and the ag industry as a whole. Managing editor Christine Book joined the group in Washington, D.C., and spoke with Kim Rominger, president of NAIDA, who says this year they focused on meeting with key committee members, including agriculture, commerce, and finance. Here's Rominger.
All of those committees members were addressed, and the key priorities and how the tariffs could affect our industry. Right now, we're fairly well exempt on some things on the tariffs at this point, because USMC is pretty much held right now for the time being, and so those tariffs there are set in legislation. So we're in good shape right now. Now, the bad part there is European tariffs are going to come in, so any of our dealers that are importing European products into the U.S. may be affected. They won't be affected in Canada, because Canada and the Europeans aren't going to in a tariff battle, let's say, at this point in time. So those are the key issues right now, is what's going on in our industry. I would say, again, I mentioned taxes before. Those are critical for the future and ongoing for our industry and for our dealers and for the farmers. We're also representing the farmers here in a way, because the Farm Bill is critical to growing the dealers' business, and their customers and we have to represent them in certain fashion as well.
Right to repair was a big topic of discussion as well. The group was on the Hill to advocate against a federal right to repair bill and outlined dealers' stances on the issue, Rominger says.
In other words, parts at cost for dealers to a customer will not benefit the customer in the long run. There will be fewer parts on hand if dealers can't sell at a profit. It's just standard marketplace and financial business. If you're going to have a product and sell it, you need to make a profit on it. Right? And so they won't inventory those products if they're not going to be able to make a profit on it. And a lot of the misinformation on the right to repair side is the customers are wanting to program out some of the safety devices, some of the EPA mandated emissions devices, so that the performance of the unit can go up, and they can manipulate that a little bit. And we are in favor of customers repairing their own products, and the majority of major manufacturers, through the MOU with the farm bureaus, have that ability now. And there's programs by every manufacturer to allow a customer to do that.
Finally, the Farm Bill was also a key topic. Rominger says since the Farm Bill hasn't been updated in a few years, the numbers used in the current bill just can't be forwarded into the current 2025 or 2026 year, stressing that those numbers need to be updated for the current bill so inflation and farmers' current costs are accounted for.
And so we're advocating for a completely updated Farm Bill for the current time, not one that's just has been passed in the past and we bring it up to the future. That's not going to work, not for our members and not for the farmers. So that's the major position we have on the Farm Bill, but we have to have a new Farm Bill.
According to Rominger, Congressman Glenn Thompson, chairman of the House Committee on Agriculture, is confident we'll have a new Farm Bill by summer.
But with politics, you never know. And the sooner, the better. The sooner we get it, confidence, market confidence, and everything else will depend on that. And the market will be driven by, the sooner it comes out, the more good news. That'll help commodities. That's going to help everything once we get the Farm Bill completed.
Same-store tractor dealer revenues were flat year over year in March, following at least 11 consecutive months of year-over-year declines, according to the latest report from Constellation Dealer Insights. The report is based on a group of dealers who have been reporting their data over the previous 3 years. In March, these dealers reported revenue of $72 million, which was flat year over year, but up from $54 million in February and $52 million in January. Looking at it on a regional basis, dealers in the U.S. reported revenues were down 1%, compared to dealers in Canada who reported 94% growth in March. In the U.S., dealers in the Midwest reported the best results, with revenue up 15% in March, while the Northeast had the lowest results at down 12%. This week's DataPoint is brought to you by the Dealership Mind Summit, July 29th through 30th. To view the program and register, visit dealershipmindsummit.com. The number of farms in the U.S. continued its year-long decline in 2024, reaching 1.88 million, the lowest in more than a century. After peaking at 6.81 million farms in 1935, the number of U.S. farms dropped sharply through the early 1970s and then began a slower decline. The most recent data shows the number of U.S. farms in 2024 was down about 1% from the 1.9 million reported in USDA's 2022 Census of Agriculture and 8% from the 2.04 million in 2017 census. Similarly, acres of land and farms decreased to 876 million acres in 2024 from 880 million in 2022 and 900 million in 2017. The average farm size was 466 acres in 2024, slightly above 2022 and about 6% greater than the 440 acres recorded in the early 1970s. That's it for this week's On the Record. If you have comments or story suggestions, you can send them to kschmidt@lessitermedia.com. Until next time, I'm Kim Schmidt. Thanks for joining us.